Hi, my name is Jessie Brar. I am a woman of color. I identify as someone who lives with a mental illness, and I'm a mental health activist. A melanated guide to mental health started because I was looking for resources for people who kind of looked like me, people of color. I found there was nothing out there that existed, so that's why this was created. It really is a guide for people of color who are growing up and trying to understand their mental health a little bit more. I had no idea what mental health was growing up. It wasn't a conversation that anyone was having around me, not in my family, not at school, not in my friend groups. I found I was struggling a lot of the time, but I had no idea what that meant or how I could fix it. As I started to learn more about mental health, I found that it got better, and slowly, the more I knew, the easier it became. According to the World Health Organization, health is a combination of our mental, physical, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmary. Mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes their potential and is able to deal with normal stresses in life, is able to contribute to the community around them, and is able to take on day-to-day tasks. Mental health is a fundamental part of being human. If you've got a brain, you've got mental health. Mental health helps influence how we think, how we feel, how we act and behave with the people around us. It really is ingrained into absolutely everything that we do. So like the World Health Organization said, health is more than just physical. It really does include our mental health as well. And I know for myself and pretty much everyone in the world, our mental and physical health are actually connected. I know that when I get stressed or I have a test coming up or something really serious or new pops up in my life, I start to feel it in my stomach, I get headaches, I get nauseous. So it's important that we're taking care of our mental health for literally every aspect of our life. In many cultures outside of the Western world, mental health is still a fairly new or even non-existent concept. It's something that as people of color, we may have trouble understanding because people outside of us, our family, our parents, they may not have ever learned about mental health or even heard the word. So that really does add an added pressure to us to try and figure out our mental health. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence all the way through to adulthood. Just like our physical health, our mental health runs on a spectrum too. The first stage is being healthy. I know it sounds like being healthy means that you're smiling and that you're happy all of the time, but that's not what good mental health is. It really means that you're able to cope with the stressors that are coming into your life, you can take on new tasks, and you can manage all of your day-to-day responsibilities. We're always going to have different stresses in life. We may have an exam coming up at school, or maybe our boss randomly put a new work assignment on our desk. It's completely natural. And if that affects your mental health, that's completely okay. It's totally normal. But as those things come into our life, we can start to feel a little bit stressed out. But we can always bounce back with a little bit of self-care and a little self-love. However, when the stress starts to stay with us for a longer period of time, it can get harder to cope by ourselves or to heal without support. The rule of thumb really is, if it's lasted more than 2 weeks, it might be time to ask for help. Things can build up, and it might feel that everything is happening all at once. If you ever find yourself feeling like you're in a moment of crisis, reach out for help immediately. There's so many services out there that are meant to support you, and if you don't know where to start, reach out to an adult that you trust or your family doctor. Our mental health can be affected by a wide range of biological, environmental, and socioeconomic factors. It's important to note that mental health is not the same thing as mental illness, but stay tuned for another video to learn more about that. I started to struggle with my mental health when I was about 8 years old. I know that sounds really young, but the actuality is most mental health struggles actually start between the ages of 14 and 24. And for people like myself who have a history of mental illness in their family, it can start even earlier. I remember I went on through life really unsure about what was going on with me, but I always knew I was different than the kids around me. I knew I felt differently, I knew the way I thought and processed things was different, and I had no idea what that meant. Honestly, it was really scary. I constantly thought that there was something wrong with me. As I got older, I remember I was in high school learning about different mental illnesses in my psychology class, and I thought, wait, I think that sounds like me. I remember I told my mom, and she had the best intentions, but she told me I was too young to be experiencing mental health struggles. And it wasn't her fault, she just didn't have any information or know more about it. As I started to go on through life, I started to look for ways to learn more. A big difference came for me when I went into a presentation and I saw two guys. They're both South Asian, they looked kind of like me. As they were talking about their stories, it sounded like stuff that I'd been through before. That's when I realized how important it was to see people like yourself reflected in the stories that you hear around you. I looked at them and I thought, you know what? If they can go through all that, get help, and get better, maybe I can too. And I really think that's where my mental health journey started. As people of color, oftentimes our experiences are left out of very important mental health conversations. I know for me that even as I was learning about this space, I was working at mental health organizations, I felt that my experience as a young brown woman still wasn't being reflected. For that reason, I created a melanated guide to mental health. This video series is dedicated to providing accessible and culturally sensitive information about mental health to racialized youth across the world. This is the guide I wish I had when I was younger.